In today's video, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of Take Profit Trader, My Funded Futures, and Apex Trader Funding. Now, let's take a look at one of the things that most traders care about. How much money can you make? When we come over and we take a look at the profit split, if we look at Take Profit Trader, you see that in the pro account, the trader gets to keep 80%, Take Profit Trader keeps 20%. Once you get in the Pro Plus account, the trader gets to keep 90% and the prop firm gets to keep 10%. Now, if we come over and look at My Funded Futures, we see right here, traders keep 100% up to the first $10,000. Then after that, the trader gets to keep 90% and the prop firm keeps 10%. If we come over here and we take a look at Apex Trader Funding's profit split, what do we see? We see right here, Apex Trader Funding allows traders to keep the first $25,000 per account and 90% beyond that. And what this means is with some prop firms, once you've already taken out your, let's say $10,000, then you're always going to only get 90% from there on. With Apex, you actually get to keep the first $25,000 per account. So let's say you had 10 accounts, you took out 20 grand, they blew up, then you bought another 10 accounts, you can then take out another $25,000 where you get to keep 100% of the profits. So if I'm looking at the profit split between these three prop firms, I gotta say Apex is the winner out of these three. Now let's talk about payouts. How long does it take to potentially get a payout? If we look at Apex Trader Funding, you essentially have to have 8 trading days before you can request a payout, and you must be over the buffer zone. Now, what I will say is in the past, Apex has taken weeks before you received your payout. Now with Apex 3.0, payouts are getting approved the very next day, and usually the money is in your bank the following day. So now normally once you submit your payout request, within 3 days, you're likely going to see the money in your bank account. However, if we come over and look at My Funded Futures, depending on the account that you choose, either the starter plan, the expert, or even the milestone plan, they all have different payout structures. For instance, in the starter plan, you can actually receive a payout in as little as 5 days. In the expert plan, however, there must be a minimum of 14 calendar days. Then in the milestone plan, you can get a payout in as little as 5 trading days. So I got to say on this one, My Funded Futures beats Apex in terms of how long it could potentially take to get a payout. However, when we come over and we look at Take Profit Trader and we compare that, we can see right here, withdrawals in the pro account can happen on day number 1. All you have to do is essentially get over your buffer, and you can actually request a payout each and every day with Take Profit Trader. And with Take Profit Trader, you normally will get your payout approved and in your bank account the very same day. I also got to say, My Funded Futures, your payout hits your bank most of the time the same day or even the next day, very, very fast. However, I got to give this category to Take Profit Trader because the fact that you can take payouts each and every day, you don't have to trade 5 days, you don't have to trade 8 days, you can actually get a payout every single day. Now, let's go ahead and compare plans. How many plans and the different rules? If we come over and we look at Take Profit Trader, we can see they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different account sizes in which you can buy. However, each of these accounts have the same exact rules. There is no flexibility. When we come over and look at Apex Trader Funding actually has 8 different accounts, but only 2 different account types. And they have a 100K static account, and the rest of the accounts all have the same exact rule. There is no flexibility. The same type of drawdown, the same withdrawal rules, everything is exactly the same except for the static account. However, the fact that they have a static account does set them apart from Take Profit Trader. So right there, Apex is slightly up. However, when we come over and we take a look at My Funded Futures, they actually have 3 different account sizes. So that's the least of the 3 prop firms. However, here's something that's a little bit different. For each different account size, they have 3 different options. Now, in 2025, the starter plan is only going to be available in the 50K account size. However, you still have the expert plan. They're going to bring in the starter plus plan and the milestone plan. If you guys like direct to funding, the milestone plan is kind of a hybrid to direct funding. As soon as you meet these requirements, in this case, the 50K account, and you make $3,000, then you will actually receive your first payout. However, with the starter plan, we can get a payout in as little as 5 days. However, there is a scaling rule, which means once you get into a funded account, you have to make X amount of dollars before you can trade 2 or even 3 contracts. In the expert plan, we can trade a max of 5 contracts and you can trade them right off the rip. There is no scaling plan. You can trade 5 contracts right off the rip, and there is no consistency rule in the expert plan. So I gotta say, if you look at the different options we have for different types of plans, I think My Funded Futures actually wins in this category. Now let's go ahead and talk about the consistency rule. A lot of prop firms have this in place. Now with Apex, in the evaluation phase, there is no consistency rule. However, once you ended a live sim funded account where you can actually start withdrawing money, there is a consistency rule. With Apex, that's a 30% consistency rule. What that means is no one day can be over 30% of the total profits at the time you go to make the request. Then we look at My Funded Futures. In the starter plan, we look at the consistency rule. They have a 40% consistency rule, which is higher than Apex. So right there, My Funded Futures does eke out Apex. And if you actually go into the expert plan, there is no consistency rule. So if a consistency rule is a problem for you, you might want to take a look at My Funded Futures. And that's what's good about having multiple different account types. But then we come over and we look at Take Profit Trader and we look at what it says right here. Be consistent. Trade for a minimum of 5 days. Your most profitable day cannot be more than 50% of your total profit. Now, what I will say is Take Profit Trader consistency rule only applies in the evaluation phase. Once you get funded, there is no consistency rule. And we can see that very easy when we come down to this rule set. Consistency rule, yes, in the test account. In the Pro and Pro Plus account, there is no consistency rule. So this is really going to be a toss-up. For me, the consistency rule really isn't a big thing. But if you're a trader that really likes to swing for home run trades or like to have these big, large runner trades, then what I would say is either Take Profit Trader is going to be better for you, or My Funded Futures with one of their accounts that do not have a consistency rule. Now let's go ahead and talk about drawdown. With Apex, they have what's called a trailing drawdown. Now they do give you quite a bit of drawdown. For instance, in a 50K account, we get $2,500 of trailing drawdown. Now, one thing you need to know about this is this trails your equity high. For instance, if you're in a trade, you're up $1,000 on it and it comes back down, you get stopped out for break even, you would lose $1,000 of trailing drawdown. So with Apex, you want to go ahead and take base hits until that trailing drawdown goes away. In the live sim account, it goes away once you've met your drawdown requirement. So in this case, once you've made $2,500 plus $100, the trailing drawdown is no longer a factor. But then we come over and we look at My Funded Futures and we can see the drawdown type in the starter, expert plan, and even the milestone plan is end of the day trailing drawdown. So whatever your closing balance was, then your drawdown will move up. So if you made $1,000 on day one, your drawdown is then going to move up by $1,000. And they do give you $2,500 of drawdown. Now, a lot of traders out there like the end of the day trailing drawdown. However, there is a trade-off with this, because with the end of the day trailing drawdown, most prop firms are going to have a daily loss limit. In this case, My Funded Futures has a daily loss limit of $1,200. However, it's a soft breach, which means that if you hit the daily loss limit, they just lock you out of the account for a day. Then you're around to trade another day the very next day. With Apex, you get the full $2,500. So that means with Apex, you can nuke an account in one single day. With My Funded Futures, it should take at least 2 days before that account goes bye-bye. And then we come over and we take a look at Take Profit Trader. Now, this is going to be one of the cons that I'm not very happy with Take Profit Trader. And that would be in the test account, we look at the drawdown and it's going to be end of the day. But then once you go into the Pro or Pro Plus account, it then switches to the same type of drawdown in which Apex has. And you can also see that they also have a daily loss limit as well. With Take Profit Trader, if you do hit that daily loss limit, you bust out the account. Now, in the past, I was against having a daily loss limit. However, the very first account that I bought with My Funded Futures on day one, I hit the daily loss limit and I was able to pass the account on the very next day. So the next day I essentially made $4,200 and I passed the account. So that daily loss limit actually stopped me from losing the account because it was a soft breach. Like I said, with Take Profit Trader, if you hit the daily loss limit, boom, the account is gone. So for this category, you really gotta weigh out the pros and cons. I think in this category, either My Funded Futures or Apex wins. And the reason why I say Apex wins would be the fact that they have $2,500. So you get a little bit more drawdown. And you might think, well, that's harder to pass with an intraday trailing drawdown. If that was the case, then Apex would not have paid out almost $400 million. Apex has paid out to traders. So if you think the intraday trailing drawdown is really that big of a problem, you might want to think again, because they have paid out more than any other prop firm. Now let's go ahead and talk about news trading. Can you place trades around news? With Take Profit Trader news, there is no rule for the evaluation phase. However, in the Pro and Pro Plus accounts, there is a rule around news. You cannot trade tier 1 news. To be safe, you want to be out 2 minutes before the news comes out, and you want to make sure that you do not enter a trade until 2 minutes has also passed. If we look at Apex Trader Funding, we look at their news rules, they are very lenient. And what it goes on to say is you can trade during news if it's your normal trading strategy. However, they don't want you to simply bracket that news event. So if your strategy gives you a setup, yes, you can take it. You don't have to worry about being kicked out or any of that fun stuff. Keep in mind, all these rules are subject to be changed. Then we come over and we look at My Funded Futures. I did not see it right here on this main page, but if you go to FAQ, we type in news policies. Now, standard news items, yes, you can trade your normal strategy. However, tier 1 data, and a lot of times this is going to be the FOMC, this is going to be CPI data, and that's really the main 2 news items for the indices that we have to worry about. And what it goes on to say is make sure you're flatten all of your trades by 2 minutes before the news, 2 minutes after, including pending limit orders. So you have to be absolutely flat in the funded account. In the evaluation phase, it doesn't matter. This only applies once you're in a funded account. So for the news events, I gotta say, I like Apex's policy better. And keep in mind, with all the prop firms, there's gonna be a yin and a yang. You're gonna like some things better about a certain prop firm, and then other things better about another prop firm. It's about finding a good balance for you, the trader. Now, let's go ahead and talk about scaling rules. And this is gonna pertain to how many contracts you can actually trade. With My Funded Futures in the starter plan, there is a scaling plan. So once you get funded, you can only start off trading 1 contract in the 50K account. In the expert plan, there is no scaling rule, along with in the milestone plan, there is no scaling rule. So with My Funded Futures, it's going to depend on which account type you choose. Then we come over and we take a look at Apex real quick. With Apex 3.0, they have introduced a scaling rule. And what that scaling rule is, you can only trade half the contracts until your trailing threshold has been met. And what this means is with a 50K account, you need to make $2,500 plus $100. So once you make $2,600, then you can trade your full contract size. With Apex, we can trade 10 contracts in the funded account. However, once you first get funded, you can only start off trading 5, which is more contracts than even the expert plan allows you. The expert plan only allows you a maximum of 5 contracts. And again, we're talking about the 50K account sizes to keep everything equal across the board. Then we come over and we take a look at Take Profit Trader. You look down there at scaling plan. There is no scaling plan in the test account, the pro account, or the Pro Plus account. And then if we scroll up here and we look, how many contracts can we actually trade? We can actually trade 6 contracts. So we can see if you're worried about a scaling plan, Take Profit Trader actually wins in this category. However, I think I'd still notch this out slightly towards Apex, only because you have the ability to trade up to 10 contracts once you've gotten past the buffer zone. I think either Take Profit Trader or Apex is kind of a toss up, and My Funded Futures is right there as well. For me though, I gotta be honest with you, the way I trade, the amount of contracts I can trade really does not hinder the way that I day trade the markets. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the ease of passing. Which one of these companies has the easiest path to passing the evaluation? We take a look at My Funded Futures. I think with that daily loss limit, it's a little bit deceiving. I think it's a little bit more challenging to pass. However, when we look at Take Profit Trader, I think it's even harder to pass, only because they do have that daily loss limit And if you do hit the daily loss limit and take profit trader, you lose the account. Remember, with My Funded Futures, if you hit the daily loss limit, you're only locked out for the day. However, I think Apex is easier to pass. Why? Because with the 50K account, we have $2,500 of drawdown on any one day. With My Funded Futures and the 50K account, the most you have per day is going to be $1,200. And with Take Profit Trader, the most you have per day is essentially $1,100. I think that's what makes Apex so much easier to pass. And if you want to dispute that claim, then why has Apex paid out more money to traders than any other prop firm out there? Now, let's talk about another very important factor, and that is going to be price. Apex a lot of times has, 70% sales, 80%, 90% sales. Right now, you can get 50% off, which means that essentially a 50K account would be about $83. However, once you pass the evaluation, there is an activation fee. When we come over and look at My Funded Futures right now with the starter plan, always use the promo codes in the link in the description box down below to make sure you get the best deal on any of these three prop firms. With My Funded Futures, you pay $80, which is slightly cheaper than Apex's current sale. However, when Apex has 80% off, then you can normally get a 50K account for only $33-ish. Now, with My Funded Futures, there is zero activation fee. And then we come over and take a look at Take Profit Trader. If you use code Epitome, link in the description box down below. Right now, a 50K account is $102. However, there is no activation fee at this time. So you get 40% off, no activation fee. What makes this even better about the current promotion is they will also refund 100% of your initial test fee. So in this case, if you went ahead and you bought the 50K challenge, you pass. Once you get your first payout, you get the test refunded. So essentially, if you can pass within 1 month, then you can get to where you can withdraw the money. Essentially, you paid $0 to get involved with Take Profit Trader. So I think in this category, it's going to really depend on what is the current sale going on in terms of which prop firm is actually cheaper. And that's why you always want to use the links in the description box down below in any of my videos to make sure you always get the best deal out there.